Amazing But True, Jake Brown, Nelson Figueroa, joined now by a special guest. You remember him, of course, from his time with the Mets in 2018, 2019, a little bit of 2020. He was a two-time All-Star, spent more than a decade in the big leagues with the Reds, White Sox, Rangers, Pirates, Yankees, and our Mets. He now can be seen all over the place, whether it's ESPN for the Little League World Series, whether it's broadcasting on the Yes Network. He is a broadcast extraordinaire. And now he has teamed up with Lance Sandwich Crackers. Who doesn't like a Lance Sandwich Cracker with their lunch? You know, my mom would definitely pack me some crackers with my lunch as a chubby little boy growing up in Trumbull, Connecticut. A team known for Little Leagues with Chris Jury back, I think, in 89 or 91, around there. He's teamed up with Lance Sandwich Crackers to celebrate coaches who make a positive impact on today's youth with the 4th annual Little League Coach of the Year award. And Todd has presented the 2023 Coach of the Year award to 2 outstanding coaches nominated by their local communities, where he is now at the Little League World Series in Williamsport, PA. And those recipients are Coach Tom Otis of West Hampton, New York. Every one of my friends is out in the Hamptons every weekend in the summer, so shout out to Tom Otis. And Coach Hannah Moeller of Spring Hill, Tennessee. The Todd father meets the pod father, Todd Frazier. Welcome to the Amazing But True. How you doing?
Hey, guys. How are you, man? Nice to talk to you guys this morning.
You just showed me your pin collection. You were at the Little League World Series. How's that experience been from a guy who's played there? Your kid's going to be there probably soon enough, and now you're broadcasting there. Life really comes full circle, huh?
Yeah, it really does. It really does. I always wanted to be a broadcaster when I was younger. It's something that it was a dream of mine, too, as well. It's coming into fruition, and it's a beautiful thing working with Carl Ravitch and ESPN, and it's been a fantastic time here. Been here a lot more times than I can, and this is just an awesome opportunity for me to get my foot in the door and watch these young men and women play this wonderful game of baseball.
Yeah, one of the great things about the Little League World Series, of course, is you're inspiring a lot of dreams. And every time you hear about Tom's River, there's one name that comes to mind, and that's Todd Frazier. All the amazing things you got to do in the Little League World Series. I got to fast forward, just get right to it with the Mets and Yankees. Both your former teams, man, what has this year been like watching them?
Wow. You feel like in the beginning, it's like you feel like you have an opportunity to get to the playoffs, to win the division. And now it's like, whoa, what just happened here? So you thought the Yankees were going to do something during the trade deadline. Never happened. You thought the Mets were going to kick it around, and they got rid of their 2 big guns. And now everybody's sitting watching like, whoa, what is going on here? So opportunities came, never happened. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like anybody in New York's going to be really happy this year.
I didn't want to get into the negative figure. I was trying to save it and still talk about crackers for a little bit and Little Leagues before I start saying how terrible the Mets and Yankees have been. I'm suiting up here in my tight-tittied football jersey giveaway that they gave out. A little snug on me, a schmedium, as Figgy will call it on me.
No, that's a double XL, bro. Cut it out.
They're gonna start giving out XLs for us big fellas instead of these large giveaways. But yeah, man, it's been rough. I was at the Yankee game yesterday, and you walk around and the fans, it's like zombies. It's like they're wondering why they're there. Yesterday was the Roger Maris bobblehead day, so that was a big reason people showed up. But what does the future hold here? I think the Yankees are a little bit more limbo because the Mets at least got some prospects where the Yankees didn't really get anything at the deadline. What do you see here? We'll do this a Mets podcast, so we'll focus more on the Mets. But you start to get concerned because you see all these wild card teams losing, Todd. And you're like, wow, what if we kept a Verlander? What if we maybe kept a Pham? They were 6 out going into yesterday. They keep some guys. They might have been 2 or 3 out of this race right now.
Yeah, and I think that's the opportunities were squandered, to be honest with you. I think, Cohen in this year was trying to figure out what he wanted to do. He did awesome. I think everybody was like, if you're a fan of other teams, you're like, man, that's how I want my guy to be. Go out there, spend the money, do what you have to do to win, and then you just let him go. And now they're talking about, oh, we're not going to be, relevant for a couple of years. I don't believe that. I still think once free agency hits, all of a sudden Steve's going to get excited again and they're going to start doing some crazy stuff. But it's unfortunate because you want to see a New York team in there every year, whether it's the Mets or the Yankees. And now, man, the season's not over. Don't get me wrong, but it kind of is. And you see that, when you're playing and you have to have 4 or 5 teams that have to lose, that's not a good situation to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I think as former players, when you're told by upper management and the ownership group, we're going to do whatever it takes to make this team a contender if they're contending. And the Mets were trending in that direction. July, they started out with a 6-game winning streak, cooled off a little bit after the All-Star break, but then they started winning, of course, when that last week, because, hey, to keep the band together, we got to start playing the hits, right? So do you think they pulled the plug too soon?
I think they might have, to be honest with you. With a guy like Verlander, a guy like Scherzer, I don't know why you wouldn't want to keep those guys for as long as possible. And I know everybody's like, they were struggling a little bit. I don't care, man. They're going to find a way to come back. They're veteran guys. It's a tough situation because you want to see them in. To lose 2 guys like that, and they're going to 2 really good ball clubs that are most likely going to get in. It's going to be frustrating for some Mets fans.
You played with Pete Alonso, a young Pete Alonso with the rookie home run record. There are talks that the Mets, not from the Mets, but talks out in the media, always things starting up that they might try and shop him this offseason with him having 1 year left on his deal. What do you think of Pete, the teammate? And do you think the Mets should consider getting a haul for him? And then maybe they could always sign him again after next year.
Yeah, he doesn't want to leave. I haven't talked to him, but I know how much he does love New York. It would be a shame to see him leave as well. That'd kind of be like the last straw there, besides like a McNeil or Nimmo. That's their guy, man. They got to sign him long term. He's a 40 homer hitter every year at least. He's a guy that dominates every year. That would be a shame if he wasn't a Met for as long as possible.
Do you think he's a leader in the clubhouse? The Mets don't have a captain. They don't have a kind of leader like that. Did you view him as that, or was he too young when you were there and you were kind of more the leader?
No, he's young. He's definitely young when I was there. It was his first year, but he can be. He's a guy that talks well. He's a guy that goes out there and, proves it on the field. And he's not afraid to, speak up. And you can see it. He shows on the field. He's a talker, but at the same time, if I'm on the Mets, I'm looking up to him. He proves it. He's willing to go out there and help people. And that's a guy, if I'm Steve Cohen, I'm thinking about locking him up right away.
Yeah, there was a couple of things that you had said earlier, like, how the ownership group and Steve Cohen going all in. We've been around the block, right? We've seen teams spend money like Anaheim did for years and years and years and get nothing back for it. We've seen teams go the cheap route like a Tampa Bay and be able to, build from within and then make those trades to make themselves better. Like, there's no set formula, in my opinion. So I think what you saw this year with Steve Cohen showing he can flex his money and the wallet so much, but still, do you believe the prospects are what are needed to take this team to the next level?
Yeah, you look at the Cincinnati Reds. First and foremost, you see all the guys that they brought up and how good they've been playing. Now, is that going to be sustainable? Maybe. Are they going to be good for years to come? Of course. Those guys are going to have their ups and downs, but they've proven, like a Matty McClain, Ellie De La Cruz, Strand, Encarnacion Strand, they're proving that they can play. So are you going to deal with those ups and downs and have a good team for 4 or 5 years to come? I think you do that. So for the Mets, I think they do have a couple guys that are coming up, and I think they're going to be just fine.
Well, one of the other things, what age did you make your debut?
I was 26 years old.
Right. And so myself as well, I was 26 years old. For us, they told us you had to go through the rigors in the minor leagues and prove yourself. Nowadays, it's a lot different, right?
It's totally different. The one guy I think of that got drafted and went right to the big leagues was Mike Leake with the Reds.
Yes.
And, he wasn't a hitter. 2 totally different people. You could throw him in the ringer there.
Hold on. Don't say that to Mike Leake, because that boy can swing it.
You're right. He could swing it. But, in the big leagues, it's a different story. But for him, guys, if they're ready, bring them up. And I think that's how it should be. And I think that's how it always should have been. And you're hearing the guys like Holiday's son might even be called up this year. So if they're ready, bring them up. And guess what? All of a sudden, in a month, they're not doing well. Put them back down, and then they'll be just fine. So put them in the ringer, man. I love every second of that.
Yeah, the Mets are an interesting spot. The date passed for service time for Ronnie Mauricio, and we're still waiting for this kid to get called up here, Todd. And we're like, what the hell's I mean, no offense to Rafael Ortega and Jonathan Aruz, have actually not been terrible, but they got these guys who have no part of the future playing. But Ronnie Mauricio's sitting there, and mentally, he's got to be like, every single AAA player has passed over me. That I'm thinking the AAA Syracuse Mets mascot, Mr. Met Jr., is going to come up before Ronnie Mauricio. Like, what do you call this guy up? You're in fourth place, Todd.
Listen, I've been there before too. It's very frustrating. You're doing everything right. You're hitting well. You're dominating. You're like, when is it my call? Well, there's things in the way in front of you. That's the biggest problem. And then once you get up there, you're like, man, finally I get up here. Now you got to sustain it. So for him, keep going, keep doing well. Let the fans keep getting mad. Don't you get mad, and just worry about what you can control, and you can't control that right now.
I just worry that there's going to be added pressure when, as say he's a September call up, that he's going to have 4 weeks before, spring training time to prove himself. And maybe if he plays winter ball, I don't know how much stock they're going to put into that, but he's going to have more pressure because there's less time on him to show what he's got. Is there an element to that at all?
There's pressure. I don't care who you are. When you get called up, the pressure is huge. I mean, for that, I don't care if you're the top prospect or not. It's the pressures of staying in a big league clubhouse. It's the pressures of trying to figure out where I need to be. I always said this, there should be a handbook for young men when they come up and play in the big leagues, how to dress, how to tip, how to control yourself and all that kind of stuff. So there's always pressure. And, whether you're a top guy or not, you got to be ready.
Yeah, speaking of the pressures of being able to perform, you're all over the place. You're with the Reds doing some TV, you're with the Yankees doing some pre and post. What's the most exciting part about being in television?
For me, I think the Yes Network has been a lot of fun just because we're focused on one team and it's right down the street from me pretty much. And, I played with a bunch of these guys or played against, and I get to talk about them. And it's the tough part about, not trying to be too hard on somebody and not trying to get too excited over somebody. So I think working with guys like Bob Lorenz and Jack Curry and the Yes Network has been unbelievable. They're basically giving me layups to talk about, and now I'm learning from them. And hopefully down the road, more opportunities will come.
Todd Frazier on Amazin But True for a few more minutes. Follow him on Twitter at FlavaPhrase21. Todd, talk about this award you're presenting to Tom Otis and Hannah Moeller and everything you're doing there at the Little League World Series.
Yeah, man, working with Lance, and they have been absolutely unbelievable. We're working with unsung heroes, coaches that have positively impacted their communities. We had over 3,000 submissions this year. And, I was on the judges panel, so it was hard to narrow it down to just two. But for these two participants, Hannah and Tom were exceptional. Hannah works with the Challenger League. She, with kids that, have special needs. And she goes out there and enjoys every moment. She had tons of people in the community send in votes and letters. And Tom, he works with kids, gives them nicknames. The teamwork, perseverance, attitude to help these young men and women on and off the field to be better people. This was a no-brainer to work with Lance on this one.
And you're coaching your own kids, and you do a travel team. Like, are you expecting him to be on ESPN? Are you calling your own son's game? How cool is that?
So if that does happen, I guess I got to go half booth, half on the field. So we're going to have to figure that one out.
And,
that's probably the most pressure, right, you have on you is having to coach his team.
Without a doubt. We had our first year this year. We're called the Southsiders, and we did pretty good, man. We have tryouts coming up. It's crazy. Travel ball is absolutely nutty, but I wouldn't change it for the world. And I always tell them, I say, listen, my son's name's Blake. If you don't want me to coach you, bro, let me know, man, because I'm not going to be mad. I want to teach you the right way because I know eventually you're going to have another coach, lead the way, but I'm having fun doing it, bud.
What coach had the biggest impact on your career?
Man, that's a good one. I would say my high school coach, Ken Frank. He was a guy that was he was critical, but also forgiving at the same time, if that makes any sense. He wanted the best out of you. It's like a what have you done for me lately attitude, which I loved. he would get on you if you weren't working hard, and he would praise you when you did well. So that kind of attitude. And he would always teach you the right things to do on the field, but make sure off the field everything was right. So Ken Frank for sure.
Yeah, in this day and age, I know we're getting to that where we can talk about it a little differently, and we're starting to be the guys on our lawn. But the analytics, you're not a guy that would stand out to me to be an analytical player or be somebody that would sit down and have to be over inundated with the analytics. I mean, talk about that, how you would view these analytics these days.
Well, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a couple things that are good, but I'm an eye guy. I'm going to watch you. Are you a ball player? How do you do with runners in scoring position? Are you a guy that we can count on? The paperwork is all good, but guess what? That's not how they throw to me. That's how we threw over the last 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm going to go back and look at video of myself of how the pitcher threw to me. We have all the technology in the world right now for that, but the analytical side, where to position myself, that comes with nature, that comes with playing and knowing where to be. Take that paperwork and you can put it to the side.
See, and that was one of the things that I said what was gaining your stripes was knowing the guys without having to pull out a cue card, right? You knew when a guy came up, hey, I got to move over a little bit. Oh, you know what? Last time he looked like he was trying to go the other way. Maybe I'll move over that way. So those are kind of the things where you talk about baseball instincts, where I feel like they're taking that away from today's players, and they're kind of making a lot of them cookie cutter. Like, this is how it's done, especially for pitchers. Like, I know when they did the shift, when we started doing the shift big time in the big leagues, it killed me because I like to pitch a certain way. Nowadays, it's easier to do the shifts and pitch into those shifts because guys are mainly fastball slider guys. A guy like me, I'm throwing a slow curveball. I'm trying to slow you down. I'm trying to speed you up. So there was the art of pitching that I feel, and even the art of hitting is lost because there's something to, man, I still tell everybody today, these days, when they talk about a home run in Yankee Stadium, the one you hit off Irvin Santana, where your butt was one way and you threw your hands and it still went 13 rows deep. Look, that wasn't the A swing, right? That wasn't the A swing, but it still got the job done in a major way because you're a ball player.
Yeah, and that's the game within the game. That's the adjustments you make. You can have a guy, he's a pull hitter, but, he can't catch up to the fastball today, so I'm not going to play on the line. That's just common sense. So that kind of stuff, you got to have instincts and you got to be ready for.
Don't worry, Daniel Vogelback's exit velocity is so good that his stats are irrelevant because his exit velocity, he can hit 091 and he's signed for life. Sorry, I won't go there, Todd.
Please don't.
No.
Todd, you're a fellow Aquarius. Your birthday a week after mine, 37 years old. Still chipper, 37. Would you play for the Savannah Bananas?
So that's funny you asked. I got asked to do that for the Alumni Association, and I turned it down. But maybe in the future. I haven't swung a bat in a couple of years, so it might be an opportunity that comes around if they're playing in New Jersey somewhere close by.
So that was it. 2021, you literally put the bat down and haven't touched it since. I thought you'd at least touch it when you're coaching your kids, hit them with your kids.
Well, I'm hitting fungos and stuff, but never. I haven't faced live yet, I should say. Like, I get in the box and grind a little bit. I played in a softball game, but that's about it.
We'll have to get Marquis. We'll have to get Marquis out there to throw to us.
Yes, well, he's golfing too much, so he's like a 2 right now in golf.
Ain't that the truth?
He's phenomenal.
Does the Tom's River thing ever get old, or do you love it? Because Todd from Tom's River. Is that like something that you hold to your chest and you love it, or is it like, all right, enough of this?
No, it's good. It's good when the time comes around. I guess around the Little League time, it's nice to hear. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it ever gets old. I think when you stop hearing it, it's like, all right, my relevancy is pretty much going out the window. So I guess I'm going to keep it as long as possible.
Todd Frazier from Tom's River, New Jersey, at FlavorFraze21 on Twitter. Catch him on ESPN for the Little League World Series as he's teamed up with Lance Sandwich Cracker, celebrating the coaches who have made the positive impact on today's youth with the Little League Coach of the Year. Congrats to Tom Otis of West Hampton, New York, and Coach Hannah Moeller of Spring Hill, Tennessee. And congrats to you for all your success after your big league career, Todd, and doing a great job broadcasting. Don't worry, afternoon and night games, no morning games for you. I know you got to get the voice warmed up.
Yeah, so baby.
Let's not play in the morning ever. No one wants to ever play in the morning anyway. Come on.
No.
So we appreciate you coming on Amazin But True. Good to have you on.
All right, guys. Nice talking to you.